welcome to this week's episode of Drunk Bible Study Bonus Edition. We are celebrating the fact that we just opened up the book of 2 Kings, even more kings. So many kings don't even know what to do with them. And I looked up, well, I was really curious to know, are there any kind of alien abduction theories about Elijah? And obviously there are. Just
Cool.
many. I actually found on scientificexploration.org in their forums this big master post of someone who compiled every single verse that could possibly suggest someone had an encounter with extraterrestrials.
Okay.
And Elijah's at the top of the list.
Oh, wow.
Specifically because of this whirlwind, chariots of fire,
Really?
taking him up into heaven kind of thing. Now, the interesting thing is that Elijah and Enoch are the only two people in the Bible who, in theory, are taken up to heaven before they died. So as in taken up to heaven while still alive.
Who's Enoch?
And so Enoch was just like a quick little cameo in Genesis.
Oh.
I don't remember
And
his.
that's it.
Do you remember what was the story of him going to heaven? Do you remember? Did that come up in your research?
Literally, from what I recall, literally Enoch's story is just like, and then so and so begat Enoch, who lived for this number of years, and then Enoch begat so and then Enoch was walked with God, and he didn't die because God took him, and that's
Wow.
literally it. That's all we get.
Okay,
So
cool.
he's very much a footnote.
Wait a minute.
But he and Elijah.
Are these people walking with God but alive?
Well, so this is the thing, specifically with Elijah. In the Bible, we'll get to this much later on, but there's prophecy that Elijah's going to come back when the world ends in the end of days.
Whoa. So
Like,
he and
he's coming
Jesus
back.
are going to Nope. What's the last book?
Revelations.
They're going to revelation themselves back into your
Well,
life.
okay, there's the thing, though. Christians think it's Jesus. In a lot of Jewish traditions,
Oh.
Elijah is the part of the harbingers of the end days.
Interesting.
Elijah's going to come back.
Cool.
And, F some stuff up, I guess. I don't know. I also learned just some interesting stuff about Elijah in general. Elijah has a much more important role in Judaism and in Jewish folklore than he does in Christianity or Christian mythology around the Bible. So Emily, have you ever been to a Passover dinner before?
Maybe. I think possibly, yes. I know that
you
was
remember-
that the seat thing that you're talking about? Leaving a seat
yes,
open
okay,
for
at a-
Elijah?
Traditionally at a Passover, you have like a place sitting for Elijah, and you have a cup of wine.
Just in
that's
case he
left for the
decides to
prophet
show
Elijah.
up?
And you open the door and invite him in as well.
In case he's
Right, yes, I remember
happens
that
to be
now.
outside your house?
Yeah.
Lurking?
Yeah.
What if there's a guy
to
outside
make
your
him feel-
house lurking? And he's like, here I am, I'm Elijah.
And you're like,
And they're like,
you
It'd be
don't.
pretty wild.
Do you have a leather belt on, and are you hairy? Because if not, I don't believe
Yeah.
you.
Let me see. Only way we can identify you. Now, I found something else really interesting related to this whole kind of having a place setting and a cup for the prophet Elijah. That there's a chair set aside at all circumcision ceremonies
Oh,
for the prophet Elijah
goodness.
as well.
Because
He
he's
loves those.
present
He loves
for
those.
that ceremony? Goodness.
So I don't know if you remember this. I read this and I didn't quite remember this, and it also didn't quite make sense to me, but in the Wikipedia, they talk about that in 1 Kings 18, Elijah goes up to Mount Horeb, and God's like, what are you doing here? And Elijah says, I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And apparently, according to rabbinic tradition, all the stuff that Elijah said is not true,
Huh.
basically. And
I
this
thought he
is
was
what
a
it says.
prophet.
This is what it says. And since Elijah accused Israel of failing to uphold the covenant, God would require Elijah to be present at every covenant of circumcision.
Yikes.
to oversee and like make sure they happened, or
That it's happening, yes,
Wow.
yes. So Elijah's almost in Jewish folklore, feels like almost like a little bit Jesus-y, a little bit Santa Claus-esque.
I was gonna say a little Santa Claus for sure.
Except for
You leave out the milk and cookies
give
for
you
Elijah,
wine.
and also he sees you when you're about to be circumcised.
yeah.
He knows when you're
Uh-huh.
awake.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot more that I could get into with stories about Elijah, but those are the most interesting things that I found.
wow.
Gosh. Okay, so for this, I tried to look up this stuff about Misha Barton sacrificing his son, his firstborn son, and that then Israel like went away after that.
Yeah,
And
what was up with that?
Right.
yeah, so basically, it is correct that he does the sacrifice. Like here's what we can agree on. It seems he does the sacrifice, and as a result of it, somehow the Israeli army, like the alliance between Israel, Moab, and Judah, they all leave, and the kingdom of Moab remains for another like 200 years after this. So like,
Oh.
he did fend them off. He did this somehow. After this, they went
Right.
away. The question is why? And
Jeez.
basically because the Moabite religion, which is a worship of the god Chemosh, by the way, we've
Okay.
run into him before, but Chemosh
We have,
is
yeah.
the Moabite god. Maybe also some other places, but kind of Moab was the main place associated with Chemosh. And I think maybe because there are no Chemoshians still around today, that pretty much all the analysis on this and all the theorizing is done by either Christians or Jews trying to explain this. And so I think it's a little bit, there's a little bit of spin on it maybe. And basically,
You
as
don't say.
Yeah.
Spin about the Bible.
In this book?
What?
Yeah. So, like, for example, on the Hermeneutics Stack Exchange, someone asked this question of, like...
Love that.
I do love it, yes. Someone asked the question of, like, so a fury came against Israel.
Nick
Who
Fury?
was furious? Were the Moabites furious? Were the Israelites furious? Was God furious? Was someone else furious? What was the deal? And all the answers sounded like a lot of bullshit to me.
Jeez.
Uh-huh.
The theories people posited were either that the Moabites themselves were so spurned to action by this, perhaps either because they were inspired, being like, yes, this is going to happen to all of us and our children if we don't fight. So like everyone gathered up arms and their army got bigger. Or other theories are that the Israelites saw it and they were so disgusted that they were just like, I can't even, I'm leaving. And they just left. Which sounds like a
guess that
ridiculous way to try to justify that, I think. That just doesn't make any sense. Then another one that was interesting is that, so the Moabites are descendants of Lot, and Yahweh...
Ooh, hold on. Descendants of Lot. Oof. We know how Lot got descendants.
Right. So they're all inbred from Lot and his daughters. Yes, first of all. No, but like they're descendants of Lot and his people. They became the Moabites. And that, I guess, I forget this, but Israel had been told, don't go to fight the Moabites because they're descendants of Lot, who are related to you. So don't go fight them. So like
see.
someone put out this just off the wall theory that him sacrificing his son reminded them all of Abraham sacrificing Isaac, which then made them remember, of going to sacrifice Isaac, which then made them remember that Yahweh had told them not to fight the Moabites. And so they're like, right,
Cool,
we're going to
cool.
go.
Never
which
mind.
is just the most ridiculous
That's-
explanation.
yeah.
You know
Come
what?
on.
To be fair, though, if you think of most procedurals or most TV shows that are based on like solving a mystery every week or a thriller or stuff like that, so often the way that the writing goes is like our main character encounters a side character who like offhand mentions something.
That's true.
And then just by total random chance, our main character's like, oh, What is that? Embroidery? Right. Oh, embroidery. Yes. Needles. Okay, yes. The murderer killed her with a needle. Wow. And like connects all the dots because of this total random thing where it's like if the person didn't happen to just mention this thing.
But that's a lot of people to like forget that they weren't supposed to battle the Moabites.
That's true.
So I think
you think
it's not just like one guy that's like,
right.
oh yeah, now I remember. Wow, thanks for like bringing that up. Whoops.
So what really jumped out to me about this was just like that those are all the explanations I came across were some variation on those, and that all of those felt so flimsy that I'm like, okay, none of you are even really trying. But basically the sort of consensus...
Well, I think they were trying very hard, Jace. I think they're really trying.
They were trying to do something.
They weren't.
Yeah, they weren't truly trying to find the truth. They just were trying to find a way to justify things. I don't know. Like, it felt like a lot of bullshit to me. So I was disappointed in the scholars of today. Scholars listening to this show. First of all, thank you. Second of all, shame on you. You should be doing better. And then, okay, last thing I looked up was about Chemosh, because I was like, what's Chemosh's deal? And basically found out that it was the god of Moab, and that most of what we know about Chemosh comes from this thing called the Moabite stone, which was like a big stone stele. I never know how to say that word, but like a big stone monument that had inscriptions on it that mentions Chemosh a bunch of times. And this was something that I think... it seems like King Misha made, that this was still left from his time, or maybe was made afterward, but it mentions Misha. Anyway, so that was kind of interesting. And then the other one is that some scholars talk about this phenomenon, and we've mentioned it before, of that there were gods and goddesses, and that over time, a lot of the goddesses sort of became subsumed into the male deities. So, for example, Chemosh at one point in the past may have been referred to as Ashtor Chemoth, which was Ashtaroth. Beyonce and Chemosh were kind of a team, maybe, were both things, and then eventually
she just became him.
And then eventually patriarchy happened more.
How annoying.
Jeez. Yeah.
Dang it, why did we let that happen?
Yeah. Beyonce's way
Somebody
cooler.
should have been looking out for that.
Right. We haven't even cast Chemosh. That's how not a thing Chemosh is. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, anyway, that's what I got.
Well, I looked up about dust she-bears. And and Elisha and all those little children that that got eaten.
Yep.
So, okay. I came across a very cool site called answersingenesis.org. I don't know if it's very cool, but I did find this article to be well thought out, actually, and pretty interesting. Dr. Elizabeth Mitchell, I'm assuming she's a god doctor, Elizabeth Mitchell.
Probably.
She wrote a long thing about all of this. So, first of all, we read the text and think that it's about little kids, like young people. And they're like, yeah, and she says, the idea of preschoolers getting mauled to death by these bears is a little much.
I wasn't going straight to preschoolers.
Well, my mind is like elementary schoolers. I was thinking elementary school.
Even so.
I was thinking middle school.
Even if it's elementary, middle, it's all bad every single way. But, okay, in, let's see, where is it? So, it's a specific, like, Old Testament... they said these words Qatan Na'ar, Qatan Na'ar, and I guess that's what it is like in the original text. I'm not sure. Maybe this
is like the word for the young people?
The Hebrew word, that's it. The Hebrew, yeah. So the Hebrew words used for Elisha's detractors include the Hebrew words Qatan Na'ar and Yelded. So Qatan Na'ar generally means little child. However,
that does seem incriminating.
Yes, these words were used about referring to different people who were older, like David, who is a mighty man of valor, and David's
he was
son.
also called this thing?
Yes, but when he already was an older person, and David's son Absalom as he led a civil war. The field hands in Boaz's fields, a number of soldiers throughout the Old Testament. The word
so this
describes
could have been a little troop of jerk soldiers, is what you're saying.
Well, perhaps.
Or just the boys.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
it said it describes Joseph at age 17, Isaac at about 25 to 28 on Mount Moriah.
Okay.
Spies in Joshua and young men who gave Rehoboam such lousy advice in 1 Kings 12. So
Wait, you said Isaac in that list?
yes.
So that's
It says
interesting.
Isaac at about 25 to 28 on Mount Moriah. Moria.
Right, because they're referring to the binding of Isaac, right? They're talking about
Yes.
the almost sacrifice, which is funny that the same thing here then, if it's because this word is being used, that people are like, little tiny baby who's going to sacrifice his little baby kid. And it's like, actually, he's
Yes.
25. Come on now. That
But
maybe this is a
that-
similar
But then here
thing.
they're like, no. But now it's the opposite. They're like, no way it's little kids, because that would just be disgusting to think about.
But they're essentially saying, like, it's been used for these older people. So it says that the
Right.
phrase little child is being used to refer to the relative youth or immaturity of grown men.
I
they
see.
mention
So it was like a
what
little
yielded?
diss. They were sort of
Yeah, it's
dissing
a
on
diss.
these men.
Exactly.
Okay.
What is yielded? Let me see.
Yeah, they mention what yielded means.
Strong's number. Catan means small in quantity, size, number, age, status, or importance. That's interesting.
Okay.
Thus, we see it used to describe a cake, a cloud, a room, a city, and a finger, as well as the younger daughter of marriageable age in Laban's household and the youngest son
Wow.
of Jacob
What?
Benjamin.
Even-
Wow.
Holy moly.
There it is. Na'ar means boy or girl, servant or young man. It is a word that can cover a range of ages from infant to young adult. Yelded likewise means a boy, child, son, or young man, essentially someone's offspring.
Okay, so I'm getting the sense that this group of boys could have been anywhere from
Yeah.
6 months old to 30 years
Yeah,
old.
exactly.
Maybe it was a group of all different ages within that range.
Yeah. Yeah, potentially. So, okay. Okay. So this is also interesting. So little children is emphasizing relative youth or immaturity of the subjects. And then the reference to his baldness, it was likely an ordinary sort of insult, and baldness historically was considered a blemish among the Israelites as well as among the Romans. That's interesting. So it's like not a good thing to be bald. Maybe like more people are bald right now in present day and less were then. I don't know.
Interesting. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so, okay, this is another thing. Their taunt to go up was a reference to Elijah's recent ride to heaven.
Just ride.
Yeah, I know. By
Okay.
shouting this challenge to Elisha, they were challenging his right to follow in Elijah's footsteps as God's designated representative to Israel, and declaring their intention that they wanted him to meet his maker as well. So,
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Still
Yet
just
if
sounds
the-
like some teasing to me, but
I don't know. It says, yet if the people were called back to God, Elisha had to have credibility as God's designated representative.
so God effed them up good with some bears.
So, okay, and yes, and finally here, she says, did they actually die? And so that's the thing.
What?
She's saying, like,
What?
maybe they
This is
didn't
so-
die. I know.
This is so apologetic
Yeah.
for
Maybe, I
the
mean-
gymnastics to
maybe they just got nibbled on a little
Well,
bit, you know.
apparently there's another book called Wilmington's Guide to the Bible, and it said that 42 of these arrogant rebels were clawed as a divine punishment. And she's like,
Clawed.
maybe there were 42 funerals, maybe not. We simply cannot say.
oh my
my
god.
But one thing is sure, everyone watching and everyone who survived learned a lesson that day. God's message is serious, and Elisha is his new messenger.
Okay, thank you, God
Okay,
Doctor.
so
what?
now-
God Doctor what?
Elizabeth,
Doctor,
someone.
whatever the hell.
God,
Elizabeth,
Dr. Elizabeth.
Mitchell.
I will say-
Mitchell.
Elizabeth Mitchell.
Yes.
I will say, on the one hand, it is hard for me to imagine two bears taking out 42 people.
That's true.
Right.
You know, that seems
Unless
really
they were children.
Well, she says they
May-
were old
even
enough to
then,
know
though-
better, are literally the words that she
okay. No,
used.
but even 42 children, I'm just like, those have to be very big bears, because I feel like children would be fast enough at least to get away from a bear while it was distracted by one person.
Maybe-
Now, on the other hand, I do not for a second believe that 2 bears would come through and no one has any fatal injuries.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably absolutely right. Like, I feel like maybe these bears herded these kids or, young adults or whatever into maybe a cave. And then we're able to claw/mutilate them.
Okay,
I don't know.
They just
Or
kind of did
maybe-
a bottleneck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe the bears dived in, slashed them up, and like several died and the others ran away, but it was like, oh look, the whole group was destroyed by the bear, even though like maybe only a handful died. I could see that.
Yeah, I don't
could see
know.
that being possible.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
So, anyways, I thought that this just had a lot of ebbs and flows, like a very interesting article, and I found it to be really funny.
Wow.
And I didn't realize that, we had already like used this translation or these words that were translated into something else for older people.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
interesting that word kind of seems to cover a range of youngness.
Exactly. All right.
What a book.
Indeed, what a book. Yeah, this whole book is what a book. So we're going to get this all next week, and I'm interested to see what happens. Who dies or maybe doesn't die by a bear or lion or whomever. Who knows?
I mean, okay, I will leave you with this little teaser for
Oh,
next week.
Boy, yes.
Someone not dying will be very relevant to the story. That is your clue for next week. I will take your...
Not Elisha.
I'm not going to say any more, but somebody not dying is a significant part of next week's story.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Looking forward to it. Until then, have a great week, everyone.
Until then.
Bye.